Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Right now we are joined by one of the most popular podcasters in the region. We have AJ of Jibber with Jabber fame on the show. Welcome to the show.
How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you. Same. How does it feel to be the one interviewed?
It's actually very strange to be on the other side.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So usually I've got all the questions and I see the guests and I'm judging how they're feeling kind of thing. And on this side I'm just like, what are they going to ask me? It's different. It's very, very different. And I usually record very late as well. I record in the evening at 8 p.m. So getting up today was like, oh, I can see the sun in the morning. It's really strange for me.
Why do you always record at 8 p.m?
I think for me, the guest has kind of done everything they need to do in the day. They've had their dinner, they're relaxed, they're kind of, not rushing around. So it's because, my podcast is very kind of light-hearted, kind of friendly, banter kind of thing. So I want them to be really relaxed and not worried, oh, I've got a meeting later or what time is it going to finish or these kind of things,
So you want just people to be chill and set that type of mood.
Yeah.
To give people a bit of a rundown about who you are, can you kind of explain what you do?
So we have a podcast here in Dubai where we interview celebrities and people of interest and also what I like to do is kind of highlight the community in Dubai. So it could be someone who doesn't have many followers at all, but is so interesting because people are just generally so interesting. And, there's a misconception that people only want to see people who have 1 million followers and stuff like that. But some of my best interviews have been with people with 1,000 followers. So that's really interesting.
Of course, and it's something that we try and do here as well, just to find the people of society whose stories aren't getting shared. But your most interesting maybe were people with less followers, but when was the first time that you saw that your podcasts were actually getting heard? And when did you start? So take us back to when you started.
So initially I used to be a personal trainer for the last 20 years. It was what I was doing out here. The pandemic came and then I realized, so we're not allowed to go anywhere. We're not allowed. And this is kind of stopped now. We can't do anything. And I've always been a big fan of podcasts, listening to them all day. The Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, Carl Pilkington, who's my spirit animal. By the way.
I love those guys so much.
I couldn't sleep without listening to them. So it would literally play all night, and my wife.
Carl Pilkington is a spirit animal. Yeah. Interesting.
He's amazing. You can't write that stuff. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I would also do it, and then I thought people are just so interesting, and I always love doing that. Is that on?
Are we okay?
Is it on?
Oh no.
No, it's not.
Bear with us for a sec. So just hold down. Oops. Sorry, I hope you could hear. Go again, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So I always listen to podcasts and that kind of stuff. So it was really kind of interesting for me to kind of do it. And like I said, I'm very social and people are just generally very interesting. The human mind is amazing. And to just be able to kind of talk to somebody and hear their view on life, because we're all kind of trotting along trying to figure out what this whole thing is. And it's really cool to kind of to get another perspective on what this all is. And
let's say in terms of you said today was different for you coming in, how did you actually prepare for today versus how you prepare for your other interviews?
For my ones, it's kind of, I kind of know them. So it's, some of them are my friends. So I have a lot of friends who are celebrities and these stuff. So I kind of know what to judge them. For today, I literally just made sure that I woke up on time. That was my main thing. I was set 5 alarms.
That's all you needed to do.
Yeah, and that was it. I mean, I've always been very social, so I don't get nervous in these kind of situations. So that's kind of cool. That kind of worked on my side, in my favor. But yeah, that's.
What about podcasts in the UAE? What's the scene like for podcasters?
I was just talking to Rich about this. It's going to be huge. I can see it really growing. I think the main problem with us right here is people are still a bit kind of just trying to promote themselves. Where I was on another podcast, a friend's podcast, Crossover DXB with Freak, the rapper out here, and we were talking about how we should all be promoting each other and jumping on each other's podcasts and exchanging these kind of things. Because if you look in America and England, that's what they do. You see the Joe Rogan podcast. I now know 15 other podcasts because they went on his show and vice versa. So I think it's really important for us as a community to kind of all mix and match. And I was telling Rich he needs to come on my show and we talk about the loving the journey and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really important to kind of all connect together and show that there is a community and build a community out here and support each other.
Nice. Yeah. Talk about your interview style, because you said you like to do an 8 p.m. interview. It's very it's very chill. But then at the same time, you've thrown in some stunts there, right? Yeah. So tell us about some of the stunts that you've done and the purpose behind them.
Stunts, you mean like
Like interesting podcast locations and scenarios.
Yeah, so well, with Freak, I decided that I wanted to do something very different. So we had a connection with Dinner in the Sky, and so we spoke to Guinness World Records and said, well, let's do this episode 50 meters in the air, hanging off a table.
Nice.
Which was really interesting.
The audio quality was incredible, by the way. I have to say.
My team is, shout out to the team. It was very, very strange for him because he didn't actually realize how high we were going.
So I've never been up there.
Yeah, he thought it was just like, oh, we're going to go up a bit, but we were literally like, 50 meters in the air. It was amazing. I did another one with a guy called Mr. Ice out here, who you guys should all check out. This guy's incredible. So he sat in -2 ice for an hour of the podcast. I made it 25 minutes.
For an hour?
Yeah.
Sorry, you made it 25. That's
I did. I was really impressed myself.
I'm very cool to give it.
And it was so. I was sitting there shivering, and I was, and to the point, like 25, about 15 minutes, he was like, "You need to get out before you die." And I was just like, "No, I'm good. I'm gonna be all right." But then after that, like my questions weren't coming out. I was like, "So why did you?" And then I was like, "Okay, let me get out." So I sat out. But he's going for a 3-hour world record in ice.
Wow.
So again, these kind of people. It's really interesting to show these people, and if I have to get in the ice with them to do it, because it wouldn't have been fun if I was just sitting there the whole time and he was doing it. So I had to kind of jump in, and I think that's the kind of thing I want to do. Maybe the 4th episode of when the weather gets better of every month, we'll do something. Maybe one in the desert or one in somewhere else.
But it's interesting because it's a very typical podcast interview because it's quite long and you can really just kind of it's a long chat, right? But then when you introduce these things, it becomes like is it nearly like a YouTube type style of like getting people's attention for the chat. Is that type of? Do you think that's the future of podcasting, or is this just type of your style that you enjoy to do?
I couldn't tell you. I really enjoy doing it, and I think it does also bring something new to the viewers. That okay, where's he going to be this month? At the end of the month, it could be a surprise kind of. Who knows? We might do one riding camels just like for the whole.
I'm just about to. We didn't think of doing one.
Maybe that's how we'll do our one. We'll do it underwater in the pool. The new one. I don't know how the audio is going to work.
Well, they have a compression tank in Deep Dive Dubai. Yeah.
See, I like all that kind of strange stuff. So
I think it's really a little bit. Love Deep Dive Dubai. It's a little bit. It's got an interesting scent when you go in.
Yeah.
So they say you shouldn't stay there for like more than 10 minutes. It's probably not podcast material, but anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that kind of thing. Just to keep innovating and kind of do things that. The most important thing is it's got to be fun. I did one with May the other day. A friend of mine. It was a live show in front of 60 people in the theater. So we did it in the Paramount Hotel. There was literally people there like with popcorn watching the show. So that was also strange as well for me.
Very cool.
Very weird experience because I'm used to being one-on-one inside, no one else is kind of there, but there was actually people laughing and an audience who was watching, so I had to be very kind of conscious about the other people. So it's very interesting.
Did you enjoy the experience of having, because I do think that for podcasters that's also like the future avenue is doing these live shows that people come and then it becomes like a show as much as a private podcast.
I think so. I think it, again, everything, the world's our oyster. We could do anything, and especially being in Dubai, because every week there's like a strange thing that isn't anywhere else.
And
so
people.
We could do that. Yeah, and people as well. And they're the guests, and that's why I like having them on. But yeah, we've had really great guests, big comedians from America and some real legends, like Royce Gracie, who just came on, who won UFC 1 and, basically his family created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So everyone was going crazy from my Jiu-Jitsu friends were like, do you know who you're talking to kind of thing. Like, this is a legend. So yeah, it's humbling and very, very cool to have all these cool guests on there. It's
incredible. Even May, we had her on the show and I was away, but like the team just said her personality was incredible. And the thing is with your podcast, you speak to everyone, like you said. Like there's no specific industry that you're targeting. There's no niche. It's just a chat with the person. So any of your guests, who has kind of I guess entertained you the most or given you maybe like the biggest laugh?
Ooh. That's a very interesting one. Laugh-wise, obviously, it would be somebody like Maz Jobrani, who's a very, who's a legend in his own right, a comedian. And also sometimes I do them with my friends. So people who nobody knows.
I love that,
just so interesting. So a friend of mine, Mirza, he's just a character. Like his life, you couldn't write any of it. And we've known each other for 30 years. So obviously that kind of connection with the banter is very natural kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I'd say. And I've had just very interesting guests as well. Yesterday I had the first Arab to walk to the magnetic North Pole and the first Arab to row the Atlantic.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a British military and was raised in England. And the stories they tell you, sometimes you're just like, wow.
But it's incredible to share these stories. So my next question was going to be, who has kind of sat down and shocked you? Who has surprised you?
I think a guy called Nader Sabri. He's the first Arab to be in the NASA Hall of Fame. He created the equipment that they could use both in space and here, and he kind of mixed all together.
That's a Hall of Fame, and
yeah,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. NASA, yeah, as well. And he's also a growth hacker. So he does these growth hacks where he'll completely change people's businesses, and he'll talk to you, and then you're like, how did I not think of that? But to him, you can see he's like Elon Musk. Like, he's talking to you, but you can see his brain working so fast.
Wow.
And you're just like, yeah, there's a lot going on in there. And just his whole episode, I was just like, I don't really have much to say. Keep going, just keep going. You know, he was an FBI informant when he was 14 years old. He started.
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, when he was 14 years old. So he started basically Calgary or Canada Online, which was basically the internet service provider of Canada at the time. Just very, very interesting characters. It's amazing.
It is incredible, and like it's all on Jibber with Jabba on Instagram. But let's say, for example, for you in the future of the podcast, do you kind of have a strategy? Do you have, let's say, like people that you bucket list for podcasters, or are you just kind of enjoying the process?
Right now, I'm enjoying the process. I mean, we're on all of the, the YouTubes and the social media, so everyone can find us everywhere. But I kind of like I like to book my guests in advance, but I also like to be surprised. So sometimes I might see somebody who's coming to the country, and I'd be like, "Ooh, that would be a very interesting episode." And it's very surprising how you can message some of these people that you would think are unreachable, and they're very humble, and they're just like, "Okay, cool, where's the studio?" And you're like, it's like, I never thought, you would. I just DM'd you on Instagram.
Yeah.
So they looked at the page and they thought, "Oh, this looks pretty cool."
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, "Oh, it's in Joel T." You're like, "Yeah, we can do it tomorrow." And yeah, you'd be so surprised at how people are genuine, and they would just like to come and have a chat.
Are people ever nervous about, I guess with a podcast, it's very much a no holds barred format. Like you can edit it later, but I'm sure you probably don't give people that.
I don't edit anything. Yeah.
No, but like, are people concerned going into an hour-long podcast about topics that could be brought up?
No, I think not. I wouldn't do. I do ask them, is there any no-nos that you definitely don't want to talk about? Because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. But generally, the most thing I get is, before, people who aren't used to doing them, they go, "We're going to talk for an hour," and they think it's a really long time. Yeah. And then I'm closing the episode, and I'm like, "Thanks for coming in, guys," and they're like, "Oh, are we done?"
Yeah.
Like they want to go on for another hour, kind of thing. So I think people get surprised themselves of how much they want to actually talk themselves.
Who is your favorite podcaster?
I mean, it's got to be Uncle Joe, right? Joe Rogan is he's the pioneer. He's the ultimate guest, to be honest. And then I have other ones Theo Vaughn, Bobby Lee, comedians. I really like to watch comedy podcasts, which is strange because I'll be in the gym training, just bursting out laughing, and people will be looking at me thinking, "What's going?" He's not taking this very seriously, but that's what's playing in my ear instead of music. So they're the ones that are really
your faves.
My faves, yeah, and obviously the Ricky Gervais podcast is just unmatched.
Yeah. It's just interesting with podcasts because I think it's a habit forming thing, and it's always a word of mouth. So it's like, spread your favorite podcast, let people know your favorites, and then they'll tell you yours, and then it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if you're not podcast fans, guys, what should you be listening to?
Jibber with Jabber.
Jibber with Jabber, and also the Lovin Dubai show.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for your time today. You didn't come far, right? Because I think you're nearby.
I'm around the corner. I'm in the green, so I just.
Oh, me too. Springs, same. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on, and we need to get you on ours as well.
100%. I'm liking the deep dive Dubai compression tank.
Let's do it.
Maybe
ready.
just so I can go back. Guys, thank you so much. That was it for us on the Lovin Dubai show. Shireen will be here with you tomorrow morning, and we'll be back on Sunday, same time, same place. Stay safe and wash your hands.